This is the Mediate Now with Winter Wheeler. Your clear choice for expert mediation and negotiation advice. But it's so much more than that. Take our advice, you will improve your entire life. Are you ready? Let's get to it. Hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Today, my guest is Taylor Poncz. Over the last decade and a half, Taylor has been specializing her litigation practice in the defense of workers' compensation claims throughout the state of Georgia. Over the past 6 years, she's been a mom, a chef, a coach, social director, and occasional seamstress for her 3 sons, including a set of twins. She's taken from her experience at home to develop her practice at work to include being a mediator, helping injured workers and employers/insurers resolve workers' compensation claims. Taylor's proudest professional achievement has been her ability to create the balance she needs to have only had one job ever. I mean, that's nearly unheard of. So yes, she's been at the same firm for nearly 15 years. She credits that achievement to her intentional pursuit of non-traditional path to partnership and the mentorship role she has created for herself within the firm. Building on her experiences as a lawyer, a mediator, and a mom, Taylor recently started a podcast called The Motherboard, which focuses on the challenges and issues women lawyers face when taking an active role in their families while also taking charge of their careers. While she calls Atlanta home, Taylor is a diehard UNC Tar Heel fan. Welcome, Taylor.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, of course. Oh my gosh. So in addition to her stellar achievements, Taylor is also a friend of mine. So I like that too.
Thank you. I think you should. A friend of yours.
I think you should add that.
I might. I mean, it'll get me places. I know that.
Right. It'll get you places. I don't know, but we can try it and see what happens.
I'm game. I am game.
So, Taylor, I am so excited that you're here. And just a little bit of backstory for the people who are listening. We met, I think, initially when I did a presentation for the women's group at your law firm. Isn't that right?
That's right. But I had noticed you at a DRI networking event, a virtual DRI network.
That's right.
And I think we had some mutual contacts and we were put in the same networking group so that when you gave your presentation, I knew exactly who you were. I was interested in what you were doing. And right away, I felt a connection, even though you didn't know I was connecting with you. And I was just waiting for you to take my bait. And then you got to know me. You know what I mean? I knew you. Yeah. You didn't know me, which is an awesome example of the power of virtual networking. And that's how we connected.
Absolutely. I love that story.
Yeah. And then obviously I got networked. And I think you and I even spoke for a few minutes before you gave the presentation at my firm. And again, it was just sort of instant virtual chemistry, for lack of a better word. And it went from there.
Yeah, definitely. And then, the next time that we spoke, it was in relation to this amazing piece of journalism that you put out. It was unbelievable. It's one of the highest or most viewed posts I've ever had.
Wow.
Honestly. And you wrote this amazing piece about a friend that you lost to mental health struggles.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, that was, looking back, I guess I knew it then, but I definitely know it now. He was a very close friend of mine from law school. I helped him get the job at the firm. So at that point, I had known him for well over a decade, was working with him and seeing him on a daily basis. And unbeknownst to me and our friend group, because we were also ran in the same social circle outside of work, he was struggling with mental health issues. And It blew me away that I could know someone so well and not know that. And it stopped me in my tracks. And he took his own life in January of 2019. And it changed me. It changed who I was. It changed my priorities. I was so sad for him that that's how he lived his life. I love life. And I'm not saying I don't have struggles, because we all have them. And if you say you don't, you're lying, right?
Right.
Either to yourself or to other people. But I love life. And there's so much out there to give and to receive and to do. And I was sad for him that that's how he was living. And, you juxtapose that feeling with our industry and how I had been feeling over the last decade, where I was so intentional about not being a miserable lawyer. I didn't want to be that statistic. I had so many friends who were miserable lawyers. And I knew early on, I was like, okay, I'm going to be a lawyer because there's no other job out there for me. And I got to figure out a way to work the hours, do the hard work, manage the stress, but still like my job. At the end of the day, like, life is short. And my friend's passing was just such a clear example of how short life is. And in that tragedy, I don't know, it was just such great self-awareness for me to say, you've been very intentional about the practice of law and how you want to manage your own practice of law up until this point. Keep going. And also make sure others feel that way. So someone in DRI had asked me to write a piece on mental health and wellness. And I literally, the second that person asked me to do that during the middle of my billable day, I stopped what I was doing because I couldn't keep the words from going on I couldn't type fast enough writing that article. Truly, I wrote that thing in 20 minutes. I mean, it just came so naturally. Now, granted, of course, I edited it. But I got the majority of it. I got 90% of it written in 20 minutes in the middle of my day because I couldn't stop writing. I had so many feelings on it. And over the past year prior to that, I'd been doing some work within our firm about mental health and wellness. I am fortunate enough to not struggle with depression, but I know how difficult it can be. But at the same time, I had a hard time relating to it. I didn't understand what it felt like because I hadn't experienced it personally. So I made a very deliberate, conscious effort to figure out ways to relate, to empathize, to sympathize, to understand, and then things that I could do, practical tips for ways that I could make mental health and wellness a major issue within our firm. And that essay that I wrote, and I just published it on LinkedIn, and I published it in the DRI newsletter about my experiences with his death, grieving that first year, and then turning that grief into actual practical tips for what lawyers and non-lawyers can do within their companies and organizations to promote mental health and wellness. So it's not just offering insurance programs within the employee assistance programs within the insurance policies. It's not just that. It's talking about it. It's making an issue that's just as important as, this is what I looked at. I said, my firm has a marketing committee. We have a diversity and inclusion committee. We have a networking committee. We have all these committees. Why don't we have a mental health and wellness committee? I mean, it's just as important to the bottom line of the firm as a marketing committee, arguably. At least I felt that way. And so I went to our managing partner, who's a great guy, Joe Chansey, and I said, I know that the firm is trying to thrive and support our clients in the time of the pandemic. We also have to support our people. And it's not that I didn't think that they were supporting our people. It's that I didn't think we were doing enough.
Right.
And so I went to him and I made suggestions, and he was very open to it, very receptive, empowered me. He created on the spot during that same conversation, he created an advisory committee on mental health and wellness that is now a committee at our firm that people can be on and contribute to. And we've made real steps, and we've implemented programs to help with that. And that's what that essay was about. As practitioners, whether it's within a firm, solo, whatever you do, whether you're a mediator, litigator, whatever it is, here are things that you can be doing in your organizations that can help promote mental health and wellness always, but especially in the times of the pandemic. And it's had great response. I mean, I got emails the firm published it internally as well. I got emails from staff members whose name I don't even know. I got emails from partners and associates who are good friends of mine who said, I've been struggling. You're the first person who's brought it up.
Oh, wow.
Emails from some woman in California who knows who she is, who said, I saw your article on LinkedIn. It really touched me. I got an email from a guy in Louisiana. I mean, it just had such a broad reach because it's a universal topic. Mm-hmm. And lawyers especially are so predisposed, and obviously the stress of our industry makes it that way, but we are disproportionately affected by mental health issues, and we are taught to be the last line of defense. We don't show weakness, which, that's a whole other episode because I don't see it as a weakness. I see it as a strength, but, I could talk to you about that for hours. But my point is, and this is something that you already know, is that we obviously don't show weakness. We're the ones solving the problems. It's that's a long way to say it's such an important topic to me. I'm making things happen within our firm, and I hope that in writing that essay, other people will too.
I mean, I think that with that essay, you definitely affected a lot of change. You definitely did. I saw it. I saw, the responses that were on my post. I saw the responses that were on your article. And people were really, really moved. They were really moved. I had one lady actually send me a little bit of hate mail telling me it needed a trigger warning and how dare I, but okay. But for me, it was like the point of it was to be somewhat shocking and provocative because we have been ignoring it for so long. We have to stop. I don't have a story quite like that, but I was struggling. I had just had a baby. And so my hormones were all over the place. This was my last little guy. And I just could not get myself together. And I had just started a new job. And it was more work than I had anticipated it being, right? And it was so much work that it was to the point where I was like, I don't know how anybody on my team is actually keeping up with this amount of work. Like, is there something wrong with me that I think that this is like beyond what's possible for a human being? And I have, no one would ever describe me as lazy or underachieving. Right. So for me to struggle with how much work there was, I was like, we've got a problem here. And so I started talking to like other people on my team, and they were like, oh, well, I'm on this medication and I'm on that medication and it's keeping me moving. And I was just like, this cannot be normal. Like, this cannot be okay. Like, we should be able to do our jobs without drugging ourselves all the time. Now, granted, I have severe anxiety, so it's not like I'm against taking medication, but daily, just to go to work and to function, that was a bit much for me to try to even accept. And, I just started talking about what I was going through and what I intended to do to help myself relieve the problem. So first thing I did was ask for more help. Like, hello, we have too much work. Right. We need at least another person. We need some more staff. We need something. And so that part got handled. But then also it was just, let's talk about the fact that we are all struggling with this. It's not normal for an entire team of people to be so stressed that we are all now on anxiety medication.
Right. Something's not right. Like,
exactly.
Sign that something's not right. And, I think you brought up a good point, is that you asked for more help. And the problem is that so often people just don't speak up. Now, I don't have, for me, I don't have an issue with asking for help. Whether if I have to go to the orthopedist because my back hurts, I'm going to go to the orthopedist. So if I'm having anxiety, because I do have anxiety, I'm going to get help. I'm going to go see a therapist if I need help with that. if I need to take medication, I'm going to do that. I don't have any issues with that. Like, I don't see that as a weakness. But the problem is that our field, the legal field, so many people do. And again, I think it's because we're that last line of defense. We are the problem solvers. And so to have your own problem is a sign of weakness. And we've worked so hard to get to where we are. And that's what I'm trying to change in my very small way about our industry, is that I didn't want to be a miserable lawyer. I felt like if this is going to be my career, I've got to find a way to make it work. And I would say that in so many ways, but about the stress and about the hours, you've got to find ways to make it work. And asking for help is the first step. Look, you can't control the response, but you can control the request. And I'm one of those people that's, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. So if you empower people to ask for help and they don't ask for help, then that's on them. But if they don't feel empowered to ask for help, then you're creating a bad work environment, in my opinion. And so this type of dialogue is what I think is necessary within organizations, especially, look, I mean, I work at a law firm with, 120 attorneys, give or take. It's not a small place. But to have this type of dialogue in our firm and to know that it's welcome, to know there's a committee you can be a part of if it's of interest to you, to know that it's an acceptable thing to talk about, to me is just the first step in having those conversations. And I think in general leads to long-term happiness in your job. And again, you pointed out in the beginning, I've been at my firm for almost a decade and a half, and that's so rare. I was a summer associate there. So other than being a bartender in college, I have not had another job because I felt, empowered to do these types of things. I mean, I just felt like I was supported. And for me, I always felt like being a lawyer. The work is typically same between firms if you're in your same field, but it was all about the people that you work with. People want to work with people they like. And I just felt like not worth the risk of going somewhere else if I like the people that I'm around. So, 15 years later, I'm the chair of the program that I came through, the summer associate program. So it's been full circle for me.
And that makes me want to ask you a bit about the rest of what you've gone through in those 15 years, because you have 3 little babies.
Yes, I do. I have 3 boys. The twins are 6.5, just finishing up kindergarten. And my little guy, and he's not little, he's the size of the twins. He's 4.5, but I call him guy. See, I'm scared to go for the 4th because it'll be another boy. It'll probably be another set of twins. Really going to send me to the loony bin, or I'll have to move in with my parents. My husband will leave me. So I'm scared. Our twins were spontaneous. I mean, 6.5 years later, I still don't know how I got them. And it's still, I look at them every day and I'm like, oh my God, I have twins. It's the craziest experience of my life. So I'm scared I'll have another set. And I'm scared it'll be another boy. I wanted boys so bad. I always felt like a boy mom. I wanted all 3 boys. We didn't find out the gender because we're crazy like that. And each time I was like, there's no way. It is absolutely a boy. But yeah, I love being a boy mom. They are hilarious and crazy and drive me nuts. And I could do it 10 times over. I loved being pregnant. I love being a mom. I love having little babies. And now, watching them grow up into the little boys that they are has just been incredible. So yeah, I did that as I was coming up. I think one of the keys to me having 3 kids in 26 months, and, I made partner less than 2 years after having my 3rd child. So doing all that is that from the very beginning, there's 2 things. One is that from the very beginning, I talked about it. I always said, I can't wait to have children. And when I got married, I always said, children are on the horizon. Anytime I had a review, I always brought it up. It wasn't asked. I brought it up.
Yeah.
Because I never wanted it to be a secret. I was like, this is who I am. This is what you're going to get. And then the other thing is I had a supervising partner, when I was a baby lawyer, who was also the type of person, he at one point was like, managing partner of he was at the absolute top. He was one of the people who broke off from the prior firm and started our firm. He's been there forever. His name is at the top of the letterhead.
Yeah.
But so he also did that, but he also taught his kids Sunday school and coached their baseball teams. And he did both. So he set an example to me that, hey, you can work hard, but you can also play hard, and you should actually be doing both. So he encouraged that. He just normalized it. If it was 6:00 and I was still in the office, he would joke with me. He's like, what, you can't get your job done in normal hours? What's wrong with you? In a joking manner. That's not to say that I wasn't billing over 2,000 hours at that time.
Right.
Working hard. I was billing the hours. But he's sort of set the tone that the expectation is that you work hard, but the expectation is also that you play hard so that you stay happy at work. And he set that example for me. And to this day, he's a huge mentor of mine and a sounding board to this day. And I respect him for that immensely. He created that environment for me because I am well aware that not everybody has that type of work environment. So I had a supervising partner that allowed me to be flexible. And when I told him I was pregnant, he was supportive. I don't think anyone wants their associate to go out on maternity leave. I'm sure he felt that way, but he certainly supported me. And then when I told him I was having my third child so soon after, he really said, Taylor, whatever you got to do to come back, just come back. Whatever you need to do, if you need to work less, you need to work from home. I really don't care. As long as you get your work done, you do what works for you, just come back. And so that also made me feel very empowered that, okay, I can kind of set my own path here. Now, I will say a lot of that comes from the fact that I had been there for a long time at that point. So because I was a summer associate, I didn't come in as a lateral. It's not like I'd been there for a year and maybe hadn't established who I was as, a firm cheerleader and just as an attorney doing good work and billing the hours that I needed to. So I spent 6-7 years billing over 2,000 hours, working all the hours that I needed to, getting involved in firm committees. I showed up at all the social events. I got to know people. So I was a firm presence at that time. And I think that allowed me to have the trust that I wasn't going to take advantage of the situation and that I was still going to be a strong component of the firm and within leadership, even though I might not be billing 2,000 hours when I had 2 babies at home. So I will say a lot of that came from the fact that I'd been there for a long time. But right around that time that I had kids, I think I'd been practicing for about 6 or 7 years. So obviously the talks of partnership came up and I took myself off partnership track. I said, you know what? I just don't want the pressure of the billable hour right now. I think a lot of women would have felt like, oh no, if I do that, they're going to write me off. I'm never going to be considered for partnership, or they just felt scared of, for whatever, a multitude. I did not feel that way. I felt empowered by it. And to be completely honest, I felt like I've been here long enough. I have proven my work ethic and my product. And if this is not an environment that will accept me for wanting to take a step back, but still move on to partnership later on, then it's not the right environment for me. And I just wasn't scared of that. So I do feel some privilege in being able to say I'm not scared of that. And that comes from having practiced long enough that, quite frankly, you're marketable. And I just didn't feel that threat of, oh no, what am I going to do? So I felt a sort of a sense of strength that if this truly is the right environment for me, which I had thought it was, then they're going to be open to it. And they were. And so after I had my third child, at that point, I'm practicing 8-9 years. I had started developing the client base that I needed for partnership. And I was doing the work of a partner. And I really, I never felt like I needed the label until I realized I didn't need the label. And once I realized, no, I do need the label and I want the billing credit for the work that I'm doing, then I went back to the partnership and said, I want to be a partner. And it was very seamless because, again, I had proven myself. Now, my hours were not quite where they were pre-starting a family, but they were getting pretty darn close. And I did not, for me, I just said, let me do the work. The work is there. The hours will come. I've always been a good biller. I've never really struggled with billing. And so I just started billing. And then the whole irony of it is last year, I had my best billing year in 6 years. And I didn't set out to bill more. I just set out to do the work that was there and the hours came. So, it's a non-traditional path. I felt like it was really important for me to pursue partnership after having my third child, not only for myself, because like I said, the files were coming to me. So I deserved the billing credit for opening the files, but also I saw how many women were behind me and men, but mostly women, mostly women.
Right.
I saw how many younger associates there were. And I felt like, gosh, if I don't do this, if I don't show them that you can take yourself off partnership track, have 3 kids in 2 years and put yourself back on partnership track and make it, like, who's going to show them that?
Right.
I'm in such a position of power to be a great influence, to be a great step forward for my firm to embrace it, which I think was a benefit for the firm, and to so many other women. For me, that was like, that is your role as a mentor to do this. If you don't put yourself in that position to achieve that, you are leaving so much mentorship opportunities on the table. And that's a disservice to the women behind you. Right. And that was really important to me because I had great mentors, coming up. And I just felt like, gosh, Taylor, what an opportunity. Don't waste that.
That's amazing. That's amazing. That's an amazing story. And I love how concerned you were with the people who were coming behind you, especially since you recognize that you were in this position of power because of how long you had been there.
Correct.
And that's
which is a key component.
Yes. And so, most women don't have that. I never had that. I never had that sense of power. I never had that kind of staying power at a law firm for several different reasons. But, when I had my kids, like I said, like we've discussed, I have 4. So it was very different every time. And did I even have all 4? Any more than one of those children at the same place? I can't even remember now. But I remember one of my jobs, I was the first associate to be pregnant.
Wow. It
was the strangest experience ever. And it was a firm that had been around for quite a while. So I was just like, how am I first? Right. And feeling, and I had been there maybe 2 years at this point, and just feeling like I couldn't really do anything. I didn't have anyone to help me with it. I didn't have anyone to really talk to. My boss at the time, she had kids, but she was a partner. She was an equity partner. So It was very, very different.
Very different.
And so I just didn't know what to do. And I did not feel comfortable enough to go and have conversations with them about that. So, in your position now, when you see younger associates finding out that they're pregnant, what kind of advice would you have for them if they don't have that type of longevity that you did?
Well, hopefully I have created an environment where they feel comfortable, where they've seen it, where it's something that's already been discussed in our partnership. I have always told people, don't apologize. You are who you are. Again, this all goes back to life is short. I don't want to be a miserable lawyer. Mm-hmm. If it's not working for you in that environment, there are other places to go. And so within the environment, within the firm that you're at or whatever, wherever you practice, just don't apologize. And if it gets met with, if you get stopped or it doesn't get well received, then maybe that's your answer, that that's not the right place for you. Again, I recognize that it's much easier said than done, right? Like I recognize there's some privilege in that. But just, I guess theoretically, though it truly did happen in practice for me, if you just don't apologize for what your needs are and you do good work and you're a firm supporter and you get involved in organizations within, committees within your firm, and you help promote others and you help mentor others, I have to believe that people will support you. Again, if they don't, maybe you're not working for the right people. So I've always been open about it. Let me tell you this, and you'll laugh at this because you have 4 kids. When I had my 3rd kid, people were, when I had the twins, people were like, well, you have 2, you're done. 2 and 1 at one time, you're done. Aren't you lucky? And I was like, well, actually, I'm not done.
Yeah.
I wasn't done. First of all, I knew I was having a 3rd kid. I knew right away 2 wasn't enough for me. But even though I think that 3 is enough for me, when people say, Shirley, you're done, I'm like, I don't know. The world's funny. And maybe I should knock on wood or something because I really do only want 3 kids. But you know what I mean? It's like, who's to say I'm done? I don't know. I mean, I just am not apologizing. And I bring that sort of mindset into my home. I also don't apologize to my kids when I work. I do not apologize to my kids when I said, Mommy has a podcast this morning. You can't be near me this morning. I just don't apologize. And I'm very careful about the words that I use about work and my narrative. And this is not my own idea. I have to say, I actually heard this from listening to a podcast of a woman who's in finance a couple years ago. And she said, I never say things like, Mommy has to go to work. I never say it like that. I say, Mommy gets to go to work. Listen to what I did at work today. I talk about it in a positive way. I don't talk about it in a negative way because I don't want my kids to ever feel like I'm choosing work over them, even though there are times that I choose work over them. Similarly, there are times that I choose my kids over work.
Right.
And I also don't apologize to work for that. So if someone asks me to schedule a deposition at 2 p.m. on Fridays, and I'm usually with my kids after school on Fridays, I tell them I can't schedule a deposition that time because I'm with my kids then. But I'll schedule it for Monday morning at 10 a.m. or whatever it is, like any other day. But late Friday afternoons, I'm with my kids. And I don't apologize for that. And I don't make it a bad thing. Like that's just what it is for me to be happy. So I need to create this narrative in my house that work is not a bad thing and it's a great thing. And I need to create the narrative at work that my home life is not a bad thing. It is actually my strength. Because let me tell you what, if I can deal with 3 boys, 6 and under, have a mediation practice, have my full-time defense practice, let me tell you, like I can micromanage, I can manage different things, I can delegate, like I can do all those things. And me being a mom is my strength, not a weakness. And that's why I talk about it at work. And that's why I don't make apologies to work when I'm like, oh yeah, I can't do that because I'm going to my kids. I'm mystery reader today. So I'm doing that. And I do that with a lot of things with work. And I think that that's what's, this word balance, whatever, work-life balance, it's such a misnomer. Like it's not.
Yeah, I don't believe
it. That balance board. I've seen them at the gym where like there's a ball on the bottom and it's a flat board.
Yeah.
Like that, whatever that is, that should be the term. It's not creating a balance. It's constantly shifting your priorities and keeping it fluid so that you don't fall over. It's not necessarily about being, right at a standstill. And you can see me, everybody else can't see me, but I'm basically holding my hands flat to say, I'm not looking for perfect balance. I'm just looking for that steady, constant fluctuation that keeps you feeling like you're in balance. It's like you're part of a bigger thing that's constantly moving just a little bit, but you feel balanced. but it's not balanced because it's not a 50-50 breakdown. That goes for anything, work life, that goes for division labor within our home. I mean, there are just times where I'm doing more than my husband is. And there are times that my husband does more than I do. More often than not, it's me. Just got to put that in there.
Same.
But, just for anyone keeping track.
Nobody's keeping score here, right?
Right. All the moms are, at least. All the moms are. But it's constantly shifting those priorities and not apologizing for them. I do not have mom guilt and I do not have lawyer guilt. I don't have the time for that. I don't have the time for that.
I need to get there, Taylor.
It's not like I don't want to come across as holier than thou, because it's not like I've discovered, this is not a novel idea. This is literally me dealing with similar to you, my anxiety, and feeling like the best way for me to manage my anxiety is to shut out the noise. Because a lot of times my husband is like my exact opposite. He is so cool, calm, and collected. And he doesn't have FOMO, when he does it, he just does what works for him.
Yeah.
And he's like, stop worrying about everything else. Just, what works well for you, do that. And for me, I just don't have the mental capacity to take on anything else right now. So I don't have the time to worry about, are my hours, high enough? Or I got asked to do something at school and I literally go, it's a no, it's a pass. That's not me this year. But you know what? I'll sign up for mystery reader that I can do by Zoom and I'll do all those things, but I'm not going to be the class mom this year. No, because I'm going to do a bad job because I can't commit. And I'd rather not commit and do a bad job than I'll just do it when I can do it. Or let me do other things. Let me contribute in some other ways, but I'm not scared to say no. And I don't feel bad about it. And I don't think that anybody thinks I'm a bad mom because I said no to being room parent.
I should have said no to room parent. I did not. I said yes.
Right. And I think because you want to do those things, because I want to do them. And look, I have done them. I do show up. It's not like I don't show up. I do. But when I feel like I'm at my max, I say no. And I don't feel bad about it. Again, I don't have the time and I don't have the mental capacity. And when I do have anxiety about those things, I'm not at my best. I don't operate at my best. I'm short with my kids. I'm short with my husband and I'm stressed out. And the only person it hurts is me. Or that's not true. The person it hurts the most is me. Yeah. And so I know I'm at my best when I can feel that sense of, let me prioritize what I need to on a daily basis. That's another practical tip I would say has really helped for me is I don't look at things globally. I don't look at it big picture. I look at it at a very small picture. My husband and I will literally look at our Google Calendar on a daily to weekly basis and be like, okay, whose career are we sacrificing today? Who's who can do what today? And maybe it's my husband runs one of the boys to golf practice and I do dinner, or he needs to go on a run and I'll be like, you should go on a run. Well, and I'll just do dinner for the kids. Or maybe it's me. Maybe it's me saying I'm going to work late or I'm going to do this podcast and get the kids out of the house. Whatever it is, it's just a daily sort of assessment of what are our priorities? What are the biggest demands, whether that's his work, my work, or our kids, and who's best suited to do that. And also I have a nanny and she makes my work go round. So I don't want to act like I can do all this without support. I 100% have support. I have an amazing nanny who's, been with us for 6 years and I rely on her.
Nice.
And I delegate.
That is
and I don't feel bad about it.
No, definitely not. People ask me that all the time. They're like, well, how do you manage all of these things? I'm like, first of all, I'm not sure I'm managing and balancing everything. Just number one, I'm not sure that's actually happening. But two, I have a very strong support system. My husband, he's as helpful as he can be. And he's my audio editor, so he's going to really enjoy this. But,
Give him a plug.
I know that, when mommy is working, daddy can help. He's doing his best to help to keep the kids doing whatever it is they need to be doing. And, I try to do the same for him. But then, of course, I don't clean my own house.
Right.
Like I have people who come in and clean all the time. I don't go grocery shopping. I have my groceries delivered.
Me too.
My new nanny starts the first of the month. I just cannot even wait. Thanks to COVID, I was without a lot of these services because we just weren't comfortable having people in the house around children. And so now that is subsiding, I'm getting all of that help back. I've got 3 assistants. I mean, yes, I may be a one-woman business, but I'm not like a one-woman show.
Sure.
This ship does not run because I'm operating everything. I don't even know how to do most of the things that happen around me.
Right. And I think as women and as lawyers, we are wired to want everything done the way we want it done because we know that we'll do it right. I was as a partner having my first associate. It is hard to delegate tasks. It is hard when you're running a file and want to know every single detail to give someone else work. I think it's probably the hardest part for me about being a partner is delegating and feeling comfortable with it. But similarly, it's hard to delegate as a mom. Because you also want to micromanage. I mean, we're type A, right? Like there's a reason why we're successful is because we know that we're going to do a good job. We're going to do it right. And we're going to do it the way we want it done so that we don't have to go back and fix it, right? But if you can master the skill of delegating, I think it makes you better. First of all, it makes you a better leader in whatever capacity that is, whether you're a leader at home or a leader in your firm or your business. It makes you a better leader. You got to trust people. Look, at the end of the day in a law firm, you can't make money if you don't have associates, right? Like that's the way to make money. Have other people bill on your files. That's how you make money. And so you have to have that skill of delegating and not micromanaging. And I think that it makes you a good leader. It makes you a good manager. It makes you a good mentor. You are teaching people. And you have to do that at home. If you complain that your husband never feeds the kid, maybe you should look at how often do you give the kid, give the baby to the husband to say, hey, you should get a bottle and feed the baby. I mean, that's the thing. And I think that I am totally a micromanager by nature. And my husband would 100% say that I'm a control freak and that I set the agenda for everything. But with having twins, we were so shocked by it that he didn't really have a choice. And I'm not taking away from the fact that he is incredibly hands-on. He is a great father. He is so great. But women just do things differently. I'm stereotyping, but it's true. And with twins, like he didn't have a choice. I mean, he's thrown in there because we're playing man to man. And so he was very hands-on from the get-go. But then I never hesitated to leave him and say, hey, I'm going on a girls' weekend. And you got this because you're their dad, because he goes on guys' weekends or does whatever he needs to do and I handle it. So like, why can't you? But the biggest thing for me in doing that was not micromanaging how he handled it when I did leave. And I think that that's key, is empowering them to feel like, okay, you're giving me the responsibility, but then don't tell me how to do my job. So all the things that I don't like that he does, and there are plenty.
I'm getting hives, like thinking about it.
I just had to I don't know. It's, managing your marriage and your relationships where it's like, is that really important? Isn't the more important thing that you feel comfortable with that? I went to see some college friends recently overnight. And I said to my husband, I was like, I don't care what you do with the kids, but please just make sure the house is picked up when, by the time I get home. And he was like, honey, set your expectations low. Like, I'm not making it. So I literally go to each of my kids. I go, hey, if you pick up your toys and the house is clean when I get home, I'll take each of you to Target and you can pick out a toy. And that's what I did, because it was easier for me to bribe my kids to have the house clean because I would want that than try to force my husband into doing that when I'm just grateful that he was like, yeah, you should go see your friends.
Right.
So a little bribery goes a long way.
I'm not against bribery. I do it all the time.
Totally.
I do it all the time. And I want to get to the point where I don't have the mom guilt. Like you say, you don't have the mom guilt. I have tons and tons and tons of it.
Why? About what?
Just, I don't know. I mean, if I could identify it, I probably wouldn't have it. But I have what I call the box of guilty feelings. I've had it since I had my first baby. And so if I'm gone for too long, I'll like go into the box and like get a present and everybody gets a toy.
I don't think it's bad to have those feelings. And I don't think you should, suppress those feelings. I think those feelings are real. And it's not that I don't think about it. Of course I do. If I'm away on a business trip, I'm FaceTiming, I'm bringing home presents to buy love. I mean, I'm doing all this. I'm definitely thinking about it. And I talk to them about it. Mommy's a lawyer. This is what we do. I mean, I don't ignore it and I'm not cold in that way, but I believe it's a good thing for my kids. And I think I'm setting a good example. We were somewhere, something, I won't bore you with the details, but something came up about someone's dad being a lawyer. And one of my kids said, "Oh, I thought just women were lawyers." And I was like, "Oh my God, my job here is done. Like, stick a fork in me. I can basically retire. Like, I have done what I need to do. I'm done. Yes. I'm done parenting. I've achieved what I need to achieve." And I was just like, yes. And that's not a man bashing comment at all. It's just me. It felt good that they understood what mommy does because I'm setting the example. And I'm, trying to set the example of we should be grateful for what we have. And we have these things because your mom and dad work hard. I mean, my husband's self-employed, so he works more than I do. But we show up, I'm coaching soccer. So I am choosing things. So I've coached one of the twin soccer teams for 5 or 6 seasons. Like I am doing things that I know are important to them and that are making an impact. And, for me, I'm intentional about the things that I choose. So it has a big impact when I coach a soccer team. Yeah. But like for my kids, I'm not saying yours or for anybody else's. For my kids, being the room mom, not going to have the impact. So I'm choosing things that my kids know are like that I know are resonating with them. So doing a 30-minute mystery reader on Zoom, like they talked about it forever. One of my twins came in and was like, Mom, the kid said that the books that you read were the funniest that any mom has read. And I was like, okay, that 30-minute time commitment has more of an impact on my child than, me doing some other, volunteer work at their school. So I just am intentional about the things that I pick and I think about how much ROI am I getting for my kids' sake? Right. Absolutely. How much are they seeing my involvement? I guess is how I think about it.
That is a really, really good point. And I don't know how much thought I've put into it like that. Because I
think as moms, we do what we think other moms, like if I'm the room mom and I'm running my own business and and I'm saying I as you, like, look at you, you're a force to be reckoned with. And you're room mom. That looks really good. That feels good to you. And that looks really good to other people, even though I don't think you intentionally did it because it looks good to other people, but it feels good because that's what the involved moms do. But for me, I have to choose so wisely that I am very intentional about what is my kid going to think about what I'm doing. And if it doesn't really have an impact on them at this stage of my life, I'm not choosing it. Maybe later. But at this stage, I'm not.
But you're so right. You're so right. Because I definitely look at the moms who are involved. And I'm like, well, what are they doing? Because I want to be an involved mom.
Right.
And so I try to do those things. And then I also realize a lot of those involved moms are actually at the school like all day, every day. So these are not women who are working.
No, it's not
outside.
Set up for the working mom.
Well, right.
It's like 2 p.m. meeting. And I'm like, yeah, right. That's not happening.
Right. And oh my goodness, this reminds me. My oldest, he went to this school that was very anti-technology, and I probably never should have put him in there in the first place. But, they would have all of their meetings in the middle of the day, and there was no dial-in option.
Yeah, not
how's there no dial-in option? And, it was like out in East Cobb, and I was working downtown. I'm like, I can't, that doesn't make sense.
Right. That's the one silver lining of the pandemic, is that it does make these meetings, things like this, way more accessible.
Right.
So that is good. But I totally agree with you. It's like, that's not going to work. And who made that decision? Not a business owner.
Clearly not a business owner who also has children.
Right.
Because it was the most inconvenient, upsetting, disruptive, and frankly, I found it just plain disrespectful.
Right.
Because
inconsiderate. Yes,
completely inconsiderate, because they had to have known that they were eliminating a large number of us from participating. And since I'm kind of on a little mini rant here, my kids have all kinds of activities and things, and people want to check in with mom every week. And I'm like, you could check in with their dad. He's their dad. His number is on it's on the forms too.
Totally.
But it's like, this woman in particular, she called me and she was like, okay, well, I need to talk to you next week. And I'm like, my schedule is booked for the next 6 weeks. I don't just have spots to hand out. And so, but she's talking about my kid. So I said, okay, well, let me see what I can do. How much flexibility do you have? Do you have anything before hours, after hours? How long is this going to take? Can I run and do this on a quick lunch break? How's this look? And she was just completely offended. And she was like, this is really important for your child, as if to say, I didn't understand that, or I didn't. I was so completely insulted. I was horrified. It turned into a thing.
And comments like that, I think, are what drive that guilt.
Yes, absolutely.
Because then when you're having self-reflection, you're like, did I handle that the right way? Did I react the right? Was I right? I think I'm right. I know I'm was I? And then you're getting other opinions and you're like, did I handle that right? But I think that drives some of that. But I would say really being intentional about the things that I do and making sure that they have significant impacts has helped with the guilt, because I can't please every mom. I can't please, and everyone in my peer group, it has a different story, as they should. And everyone has different commitments and different, family support. I mean, I have great family support, but none of my family or my husband's family lives here. So I have support from my nanny. And like I said, people that I pay to do things in my house to make my house run so that I can focus on other things. But I'm never going to make everybody happy. There's 5 people I need to make happy. There's me, my husband, and my 3 kids. That's my primary focus. And so within making me happy is also making me happy at work, and just being able to pick and choose what I need to do. But I think a lot of it comes from taking a step back and saying, what makes me happy? And that just sort of guides all my decisions. It's the same reason why this might be off-putting to some people, but I very rarely miss a day of exercise. Now, I'm not one of those people who's like, oh, I skipped a meal. I forgot to eat. I hate when people say that. I forgot. No, please. No, you didn't.
I forget to eat. I have to.
No, I don't believe it.
I have to tell you. I do. If I'm working, I will just be in a zone. I may not get up for hours.
Right.
And it's just, okay, and then the next thing I know, I'm like, why do I feel so terrible? I haven't eaten.
Because I haven't eaten. Right. But I'll just say trigger warning on exercise, because I think some people roll their eyes when they're like, oh, so, exercise. I choose exercise almost every day for the mental and physical aspect of it. Mm-hmm. I'm not talking about going to CrossFit for an hour and a half. That's not what I'm talking about with exercise. I'm talking about 30 to 45 minutes, or sometimes an hour. It just kind of depends on what my day is. But I choose to schedule it in. It could be taking a call on a walk. For example, if this was not also being recorded by video, I probably would have walked around the block and recorded this by talking. Like, I look for ways to bring in exercise to my daily life because it is just as important to me as all those other things, because it grounds me like mentally and physically. And I make it as a non-negotiable part of my day. I don't think about as how do I fit in exercise? No. I fit it in the way I fit in anything else on my calendar, anything else like a deposition. Now, I'm not like looking at this with like rose colored glasses. Like there are days where it just doesn't work. But generally speaking, it's part of my daily routine, just the way it is getting coffee. And it might be like 20 minutes of like doing an arm exercise while I listen to a CLE on Zoom with my video off, because that's the way I can get it in. Mm-hmm. Or like, doing a meditation or a quick yoga stretch. Sometimes it's just stretching. Sometimes it's 20 minutes because that's all I can afford in my day. Like I said, it doesn't have to be like going to CrossFit for an hour. Like I get it. Not everybody can do that every day. But I really just choose it and schedule it in. I look at my calendar and say, okay, where do I have 30 minutes in my day to get it in? Sometimes it's me getting up before the kids get up. And that's hard. But you know what? Sometimes 6 a.m. is the best time to have a little bit of mindfulness. And a lot of people find mindfulness with a cup of coffee and reading their emails. I find my mindfulness sweating. I need to sweat. I need to do something. So again, it might be stretching or doing a little yoga, or it might be like a full-on cardio workout, whatever it is. It's super important for me. And it just sort of gets my mindset back into that low anxiety mode. I feel like it really helps manage that. And for sure. I do some of my best thinking when I'm exercising. I write a lot of my LinkedIn posts in my head while I'm exercising.
Oh, I love that. Okay.
Or like I write intros to briefs. Like I like to have like a theory of the case, like a non-legal type writing in briefs. And just like maybe a couple sentences that just really pulls the theory of the case together. Or if I'm thinking about a case I'm mediating, whatever it is. I do that best creative thinking when I'm in that exercise zone. I don't know. My mind goes somewhere. It's sort of like where your mind goes when you're driving a car or showering. You're conscious and you know what your thoughts are, but it goes to a deeper place for me, of creativity. Like if I sit down and I'm like, what am I going to write for my LinkedIn content today? I get more roadblock, but writer's block. But when I'm exercising, I'll think of I'm way more creative. So that's part of my work day.
I love that.
And I don't make an excuse for that. Like it's a part of, like, that's one of the things that helps me feel happy in my day. I just add it in.
I do the same thing. I spend a lot of time exercising and working out. And I would love to say that it's like just to like clear my head and all of that. It's not. I am toning. I am burning calories. I am.
Yeah. Oh, no, I am too. Together. Don't get me wrong. I am too. I'm just saying I want people to feel like that's relatable and achievable and that they can do it too. Because that's the biggest thing, especially when you have young kids. They're like, my kids get up early. How do I do it? Or I'm so tired at the end of the night. Like that, like you find a way. If you can find a way to schedule.
You can definitely figure it out.
Yeah. And I think with like, look, if you're on social media or you're doing on there's time in your day. You just have to schedule it. You can't wait to the end of the day and not have a selected time. So even if it is post-kid bedtime, if you've set in your day, I'm doing the elliptical from 9 to 10 and I'm going to watch some junk TV, or I'm going to review a brief, or I'm going to prep for something or whatever it is, or I'm just going to zone out and have quiet. I just think it's important to set that in your daily schedule. It makes it so much more attainable. So
absolutely. No, and I typically try to get it done early in the morning. Yeah. And so this morning, we're recording on a Sunday. So it's, a little lazier around here today, but my 3-year-old doesn't understand that. So he's always up, and, I am 20 minutes into like a Peloton strength class. No, it was a core class today. And so I'm on, plank number 15.
You're like, sit on my back. Give me some extra weight.
He kept trying to climb on my back. He was like climbing underneath me. And I'm just like, I had to just roll with it because it wasn't going to stop. he doesn't understand that mommy needs him to go. And so, we
and
were
you're also
supposed to
setting
be
a great example for him. You're like, mommy prioritizes her health and wellness.
Right.
And so that
Absolutely.
when he is a decision maker, that circuit is built. So he's going to look back and say, my mom exercised. It would be the same way if you didn't exercise. He wouldn't understand the value of the exercise because it's not being modeled for him.
Yeah.
Working out. So I do a lot of times I will do the workout while my husband is doing dinner for the kids and vice versa. Like he'll do that when I do it. And I will say to my kids, mommy's getting in a quick workout and then I'm going to join you for dinner, because I want them to know that I find exercise to be important, because I want them to think exercise is important.
Yeah.
It's important for mental health and wellness and physical health and wellness. So I think by you modeling it, even though he was bothering you, you're actually, even though he's preventing you from mastering that plank, you're modeling for him behavior that at some point he's going to make that connection and be like, oh, my mom used to do that.
Yeah. I love it.
So you're actually teaching him. See, don't feel guilt about working out. You're teaching him and working out.
I'm going to call you every time I feel guilty. Thank you for listening to the Mediate Now. Be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Music and audio editing provided by Encompass Podcast Studio. Take our advice. You will improve your entire life.